or Altar of Elders, my bad. It kind of makes it difficult for them to actually end the game. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting choice to just kind of focus fire random buildings on the outside. I mean, sure, taking out buildings is important, but I don't know, I found it more important to actually try and prevent them from winning than to stall them. Excuse me. So the hero's almost back out, and I will point out is that his hero is fairly high level, and this is kind of bad timing for the human player to be staffing out, because Moon's hero just came out, and the reason you can tell that is, as the human player, is because obviously, if you're pro, you'd probably just know and like assume when it's going to come out. But obviously, like if the Moonstone goes off, it's out. So, one thing to note is that obviously Dryads were kind of skipped. Reason being, you don't want to get Dryads versus Riflemen. That's just a bad idea. And at this point in the game, if your hero is almost level 6, don't bother getting a second hero until you hit level 6. I will point out is that Moon decided to go with the level 3 Hawk as opposed to Quillbeast, which was kind of it was kind of an odd choice to me. But the reason it actually makes sense is because it can take out towers and peasants so much easier than a Quillbeast can, especially with the kind of base build that human players generally use, which is kind of like the seal off. So if you are going to be using the Beastmaster, which, you know, you kind of have to be careful of, because if they do go Archmage, they can actually use Dispel and kind of take out your Quillbeasts and stuff pretty easily. But, yeah, I thought you should know. Anyways, once again, Moon is making use of the shop again, which is pretty sweet. He also makes use of his own shop and picks up an anti-magic potion. And this actually plays a huge role, because when you hit level 6, you get Stampede. And with the anti-magic potion, it negates Stormbolt, I believe, so that you can actually, you know, take out their base with Stampede. And, you know, Stampede is just such an incredible spell. And once again, Beastmaster is kind of a late game hero if you don't go with a second hero, because obviously you're not going to be able to actually end the game until you get Stampede. I mean, sure, you have the you know, the unit advantage, but he isn't as aggressive as a hero as you know, you'd like him to be. All you can really do well is fend off pushes and kind of make it difficult for people to actually end the game. So I kind of see him more as a stall hero as opposed to an aggressive hero, which is what the Mountain King is also. I mean, he is an aggressive hero, but he just gets more and more aggressive. Like early game, he's kind of passive because you really don't want to lose anything. So as I said, he does hit level 6, so obviously he's going to pick up a second hero. And the reason the second hero plays an important role is because he can actually use like the Staff of Sanctuary. It is Staff of Sanctuary Preservation. The human one's the Sanctuary one. But the reason this is important is because you can actually like save your hero from, you know, dying from bolt. Really nice micro by Moon by losing the Dryad to creeps. Yeah. So, as I said, once again, Moon is actually kind of taking map control by obviously by creeping out the marketplace and actually gaining control of the marketplace at this point. And I mean, marketplace isn't really that important, but you know, it does still play a role because it allows you to purchase things like it's actually become popular to purchase a Wand of Illusion and just kind of make it seem like you have 12 bears as opposed to like 3. So it is an important thing. The problem is if like your opponent knows you've picked it up and you have to spell it or something, it can kind of backfire, and then you'll end up picking a battle that you would only be able to pick with something like the Wand of Illusion. So that's one thing to be aware of. He obviously didn't pick it up yet. I believe he picks it up later though. So here comes the Beastmaster with his amount of ownage. Now one thing you have to be aware of is when you're casting Stampede, you kind of have to cast it towards their base. So obviously the way he's casting it right now is probably the best way to do it. Really nice TP, by the way. That's what happens when you don't use the Wand of Magic, or the anti-magic potion. Wand of anti-magic. That'd be imbalanced. So obviously, Panda's really good. If you watch the Archmage shot go all the way across the map, by the way, Dry is running to do some harassment purposes. I'll comment on that in a second. But will it do damage? Who knows? I don't really pay attention. But yeah, that was kind of cool to watch. I don't know, it was kind of an interesting timing for something to fly across the map. One thing that Night Elf players love to do with Dryads is just kind of run in and be a bastard, and just kind of like start focusing stuff, because all you can really do to fend it off is bash. And like, really you can't slow them. All you can really do is pick them off with riflemen. Obviously, if you're a good player, you're not going to lose any Dryads by just harassing, and all you're really going to end up doing is picking off units. So that's a good thing to have. Also, one thing to point out is that the Archmage is towering up the Night Elf player's Expo. That will play an important role in a bit, because it kind of puts a time limit on how much you can do harassment-wise. So, you know, one thing to be aware of is that if you don't have a TP, you kind of lose the ability to save your base a lot quicker. And having your army fight without, you know, your heroes there is kind of a bad thing. And once again, use of the staff would be nice. There we go. Nice save of the panda, by the way. One thing to be aware of is that, like, with the Archmage, you are going to be facing, like, Brilliance Aura and things like Blizzard. Jeez, if I could talk. And Blizzard kind of plays an important role in taking out things like... Frick, what are those called? Bears. Wow, because with the slow and the Blizzard, you're really going to deal so much damage to bears that it just kind of ends up being ridiculous, and you really have to rely on healing scrolls a lot more. So that's one thing to be aware of. Also, I will point out that the human player didn't decide to get Magic Sentry, which I found was kind of a mistake. And the reason being is because with the Hawk, you know, it's invisible, so you kind of want to be able to take that out. But also, the fact that, you know, they're making really good use of the shop anyways, in purchasing invisibility potions and stuff, it would just be so handy to have, like, a reveal, you know, every now and then. Also, if they invisible over and just kind of start stamping your base, you're in problems. So, Moon actually has ended up with the upper hand, even though he kind of lost a battle and almost lost his hero. He does have the Expo. And the reason he kind of retreated and didn't decide to try and deal too much damage to the human player's army is, well, I mean, he could pick off like a unit or two here and there, and just kind of staff out bears as you do it, and just kind of play it safe and try and pick off units one by one, but also because the towers were at the Expo. So I kind of found that was like the ultimate deciding factor of whether Moon would try and flank a couple units here and there, or just play it safe and head to his Expo. Now, obviously, it could have proved to be more of a problem, you know, if the human player actually had money and upgraded them earlier. But, you know, that was just me. So, here is the purchase of not only Sentry Wards, but Wands of Illusion. Reason Sentry Wards are kind of important to purchase, or they were in this case, was because, you know, a lot of invisible potions have been flying around, so it's a good thing to be aware of. Now, this was interesting. He purchased a Pendant of Energy. Now, if you do have woodles of money, go ahead and purchase it, but otherwise I wouldn't really recommend purchasing one, just because they're kind of expensive. Ugh, sorry. It was popping my back. I wrenched it the other day, and that just wasn't good. So, Moon did lose a Dryad to, you know, his harassment, but kind of a breaker for a Dryad's a good thing. So, one thing he hasn't done yet is he hasn't actually stampeded the base yet, and the one thing that you do realize is that, you know, the human player has to take out the Night Elf player's Expo, otherwise he's screwed. And without a scroll of TP, if you know where they are, just kind of run to their base and stampede it. Once again, Stampede going off, so imbalanced. I love Stampede. And what he's doing right now is actually kind of an interesting thing. He set off the anti-magic shell, but he's also kind of forcing the Mountain King to be outside of range of, you know, being able to bolt. So it just made it difficult for him to be able to do anything. So Stampede's still going off. Obviously, the human player is going to start towering the Night Elf player's Expo. And I found this was weird because he really doesn't have that much money, and all he can really do is upgrade one tower. And if he loses his hall, he kind of loses the game because he loses so much money. And once again, human player with the rifles and casters really can't take out an Expo that quickly. Especially one with Nature's Blessing. I mean, this would go down like twice as fast without it. So,